Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter, broadcasting from Ben Gurion Airport in Israel, Palestine, Israel, whatever. This is basically Venus night, no longer moon day, and the moon hour. Moon is in Virgo, just released from an opposition to Saturn in Pisces, Saturn retrograde, and the ascendant is 23 degrees Taurus, applying to Beta Persei. And Beta Persei is no longer minima, okay, so it's fair phase of Beta Persei. Venus is in 9 degrees lunar degree of Scorpio, and Mars in 14 degrees Cancer. So it is Mercury Casini or Mercury conjunct Sun. Okay, I don't know if it's Casimio combust because I can't see like the planets in the sky right now. And this is on 7 degree of Libra. So just a degree away from Ketu, 6 degrees Libra. So a lot of fated events have been summoning up. It's been extra Uranian. I know a lot of people treated this time as highly mercurial because most people just know Mercury retrograde. But we have ecliptic time. Wait. We have ecliptic time, and this eclipse is Venus involved, which means Venus rules over Uranus as well. So expect Uranian things to unfold. Now, a part of the things that have been happening in the last couple of days is, on the one front, the question, will the changing head of NATO, okay, the upcoming head of NATO, Mark Rutte, not just be litigated, but if he will end the war in Ukraine. And we know that Rutte came with a promise to Putin that he will not back down, and definitely desires to pay limit, okay, to expansion, to a possibility of Russian expansion. So that was the Rutte that we've known so far. In just a couple of hours, he will be going through the ceremony of basically taking the position as head of NATO. So we're waiting for the speech. And in the Israeli front, there was something really fascinating because just a couple of days ago, there was the question of, will there be a ceasefire? And they were talking about a prolonged ceasefire. They were talking about a 21 days ceasefire, whereas just a couple of hours ago, there were preparations to begin to go boots on ground in Lebanon. Okay, and then you probably say, "Hey, what Hezbollah?" Yes, the last video I did at this airport was of the natal chart of Hassan Nasrallah. Then there is the question: was he assassinated? Was it Nasrallah? I cannot answer this. Okay, I have to admit, I'm not intelligent. I'm an astrologer. I can say there's high protection. I can say that even with high protection, every person has an expiration date, right? So I was not seeing that like on the chart that it is going to be, but I believe that I would have seen something around like a disappearance or something like that. I will have to check this again. Okay, I will have to check this again. But just to denote the highly Uranian potential of this eclipse and the effect of sudden events is very much the Uranus on Algol. So it's on the sun of Israel. We know that Ukraine is also associated with Taurus and also Belgium. So I've been talking about Belgium for a while. And I must say that Netherlands is not exempt Okay, both about Netherlands going Brexit, both about leader of a ruling party. Okay, it's not a prime minister. That's Wilders that has been upping and upping the idea of reunification with the Flemish, the Dutch part, basically, of Belgium. Okay, that came out political. It's no intention for it to be political. Basically, the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium. We can think of it as well a peaceful union of Netherlands grabbing more land, or we can think about this as new Crimea. If you go to some people in Crimea, they will tell you, "Oh, we are Russians." Some people, not at all. So, it's the question if such a move will happen, and this is the note that both by Euro and Better per se. Okay, although Belgium has been through its set of eclipses to do with that axis, and yet the eclipses on the multiple Netherlands charts, where Aries is quite strong, are still active. Okay, so a possible third front around Belgium is not impossible. Okay, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's something that I have been predicting for a while. So part of the dealing with the housing crisis, land crisis, is what deportation, and another part is expansion. Okay, of more land. A Dutch-speaking population seems natural. However, we know that can turn Crimea as well. And for those who are wishing for like the end of the war in Ukraine, we definitely are not going towards anything, how should I say it? There is still a revolution around Ukraine, okay? Uranus is still doing its thing. Okay, Uranus is still doing its thing. And just like the state of Israel, which is the strongest case, okay, because it's on the sun of Israel, and we see basically one day talking about a possibility of 21-day ceasefire, the other day planning to go boots on ground in Lebanon, and then suddenly Nasrallah is dead, or not dead, we don't know, okay, but the reports are that they offed the person. That's the job of Uranus. Now you add an eclipse to it, the Libra factor is a new balance, okay? It's a new way of balancing the scale. So, on the international front, I guess that's why people are like, will we end the war in Ukraine? I said, many things can happen. If we do, it's very likely to happen in a very unusual way. Okay? So, one possibility is head of NATO being litigated in some way. We know it's not yet Saturn return for Mark Rutte, but it's coming. Okay? Is coming, and Neptune is right now on that Saturn. Okay, so there's a Neptune transit to Saturn, and that Saturn is ruled by Jupiter on Procyon, so there's a very sweetening effect to it. Okay, but that's something that's coming up, and we know Saturn deals with taxation. We had the 1100 crisis in COVID. But the children, so basically kidnapped. The government was under Prime Minister Rutte, but it was entire parliament. Okay, not just entire government, but entire parliament, because in such cases it's possible to do impeachment, and that was not done. Okay, there's no, and so that is a very big deal, which we talk about in other episodes. But we know that the possibility of continuous litigation against Netherlands, against the Prime Minister, is a possibility. And if he'll not be given immunity, then he will have to stand trial. So that's something that could change the course of events for the Ukraine war, because this is head of NATO, okay? Like, if we won't be able to do that, then somebody else will have to take the place, and we don't know who that person may be. If we're talking about Rutte, which one of the, and I have to state, one of the designation of a Saturn return is indeed climbing up the ladder. Okay, so the many things can happen, right from immunity to, hey, it's the entire parliament, to a billion of other things, but definitely the taking on responsibility, the climbing up the ladder, the extra responsibility that comes with Saturn, denotes of something that if somebody's building on a downfall, I would not place my bets there, okay? And that leads to a possibility where there will be an all-encompassing mandatory army recruitment across entire Europe and North Africa. NATO. Okay? They're not with China alone. They're not defluoridizing the water. Or I won't state the countries, you can Google that. They're building A-bombs. Okay? And they're not on bended knee. Because some Africans think that their governors are on bended knee. They're not. They are in agreement that allows them nuclearification and entails cooperation. Yes, entails compliance. So there's something towards 2027 that's happening, at least in North Africa, that we don't want to turn our gaze away from, especially not if you have relatives there or anything like that. So lots of very likely good developments, but possibility of, okay, of all the things that being part of NATO or in commune with NATO or complying with NATO or an ally to NATO entails. So yes, possibility of at least mandatory army recruitment, whether it's just for drills, is something that's been discussed way before head of NATO changed and has been even in place, okay? Because we know that some orders have been in place for the people in recruitment age. And that is unfortunately a very imminent possibility, especially when we know that Mr. Rutte is not aiming towards, how should I say, smoothing over, okay? That's not a good or bad thing, but definitely we've heard him saying things like, well, we should not be scared of Russian economy, and if they want war, they will get war. So that is definitely something that is, yes, coming up. And I would not build on the possibility that he would be somehow dismantled with litigation or something like that. Okay, that's not where I would lay my hopes. So as for the Middle East front, that Uranus is doing what it's doing on the sun of Israel, and from speaking about ceasefire to feeling completely like victorious and going boots on ground into Lebanon. Now knowing very well that many of the people and the political representatives of Lebanon, actually don't all that mind for Israel doing the dirty job of supposedly clearing Hezbollah out, okay? And I'm saying supposedly because when it comes to fundings, we cannot dissociate that from World Economic Forum, 2030 Agenda, and actually being in a real estate office today in Tel Aviv, I got to very by chance to get to know things there. And I must say, in Tel Aviv, they don't feel the 2030 impact, okay? They don't feel the people running away from cities. They don't feel that on a real estate level, okay? Perhaps because they're not working with too much of private sector. I don't know exactly for the nature of the clients, okay? But this is an interesting, okay, nothing more than the waves of, as they described it, the 7 good years and the 7 bad years, but nothing more than that, okay? And if you think about the 7 good years and the 7 bad years, if you think about the cycle of eclipses, it's not 14 years, but it's on and off where you have Rahu, okay, let's think about, Rahu, Gemini going to the cities, Rahu, Sagittarius going to the rural country. So of course we're going to have these motions on real estate as well, and every office, every sector is going to experience that around different times. That depends on natal charts of the office, of the area, and so on and so forth. But that was a fascinating information, okay? Because if we would expect people to venture out of the city, especially after COVID, we see that it's not much more, okay? But yes, in the rural areas, the real estate is very, very increasing, okay? Lots of deals, lots of people buying land, lots of people seeing the war as an opportunity, and lots of people live in the cities. Okay, so that's also something that we see happening. So the Ketu Libra on a mundane level is changing the balance, but Uranus adds a flavor for the unexpected. For example, I did not expect to be here tonight, okay? There's actually a Venus Cancer talisman, Venus and Moon Cancer talisman that went missing while I was tending to a little bit of the stages of what to talk about, of what to address with water expansive on cooling, okay, the next season. And I was tending to the fatigue of looking for something missing. Then that talisman went missing, and apparently it was in my bag, but I was about to leave the area, and then it became kind of like too late, and I said, F it. And that kept me here. So lots of fated events, lots of sudden events, and lots of changing the way we balance something. Okay, and that can be monetarily. Okay, with Mercury still in Libra. Okay, that can be monetarily. That can be in terms of, relations, all things Libra, but it's also juristically. Okay, one thing that recently happened in Israel was a change of approach to taxation. So if somebody, let's say, lost their business or something like that, and they are in debt, they will not be exempt from having checks, okay, to rent an apartment. Okay, for what they need, they will be able to order checks, and they will not have to ask permission from the bank. Okay, so people can come out of a situation of being in debt, and we see that again around the eclipse. Okay, the laws around taxation changing, the laws around commerce changing, and we balance something, we balance depth in a different way. Okay, so all alongside, and this is something we have to take into consideration, because alongside the 2030 agenda, you have to understand, you can see it both as, hey, there are many carrots, okay, there are many things that push people to comply by solving old problems, okay? And the fact that Uranus is on a goal is releasing from constraints, is liberating on the financial sector, okay? So is limiting of what you can do to a person because of so and so and so and so and so, okay? Because they said yes to life in essence, okay? Maybe they tried to open business, maybe they left, marriage, maybe COVID, okay? So there is also, you can see it as attempts to make people comply, and you can see it at Uranus doing the work, okay? People actually begin to take the power, and when they do, they find out that they have more power than they understood, okay, that they have. Yeah, but people have to understand that they need more. Now, one of the ways for people to understand that they cannot do with less is crisis situations. And this is definitely a time where something can be taken away, something to make place for the new, but you find out that what is relief, okay, sometimes something is taken away and there is relief, okay, and sometimes something's taken away, and as you try to replace it, you realize that you need more than you thought, okay? You can give a concrete example. Remember when we had the last Gemini eclipse, then I went in between houses, it was COVID, and previously I was living in I wouldn't get more than that in Netherlands, one-room apartment, which was a great deal, and for a student it was great. But then I was 2 times in quarantine for 10 days each. And I understood that that is not enough. And then I was in between houses, I was sleeping at the hostel. And then we were people snoring. And I realized, a bed in hostel, not enough. A room alone, not enough. Okay? It was very simple, I did not sleep. So there was something that made it very, very clear that to support my nervous system, I need to ask for myself to at least understand that such and such housing is necessary, and such ability to travel, okay, freedom of movement is necessary, okay, if I want to be a good person, for my well-being, mentally, but also physically, okay? And with solar eclipse on Ketu, such thing, especially with Uranus, can arise. Uranus comes to liberate, but it can create explosion. Something is exploding out of your life, okay? There's a sense of the liberation, the urge to liberation is so powerful that expression, especially with the Uranus-Venus expression, artistic expression, just flows out of you. Okay? So that can be a way, a route in which people just do it. They just take action. They just do it. Especially if it's action around housing, but also for protecting the motherland, or for if you are in conflict with the motherland as well, or conflict with parents, okay? Children can decide they leave home, or they defend home. Okay, both things can occur. Boundary settings, okay? all these things, and they can happen very suddenly, not only because of the eclipse, but because the Ketu part is ruled by this Venus, which is in Mars sign. So both the Ketu and the Rahu are infused with Venus that rules over Uranus. Okay? So the topic of will and consent is going to be very strong. Okay? And Uranus has a way to it. Okay? Uranus has a way to it. And there is a suddenness to everything. So everybody can rebel everybody. And with Uranus you have to let go. Have to let things to fall apart. If you've been trying to stick to your balance sheet, okay, and that balance sheet no longer fits, okay, it will just happen. Something will just happen. And that is a liberation from excess. Especially now, Moon is about need. Especially if you grew up, if people around you told you, you don't need more than that. What do you need all that? Or if you told yourself, I don't need much, okay? Something can break this equation. And you say, fuck it, I do need that much. I do need a bigger house. Or alternatively, if you've been the person that has been extra, and you say, fuck it, I don't need that much. Because Libra has this balancing effect, okay? But you really don't know where it will go, because there are various layers that Uranus goes through consecutively and not in linear fashion, okay? So let's say the topic of will and consent, okay? Will and consent banking. One way in which Uranus can act is, hey, I did not have a will and consent at work. What do? Steal. Take by force, but not as vengeance. Steal of what I need. Food and stuff like that. Or stuff that can make me go to a better position or where I'm more respected. Okay? There's something very rebellious about Uranus. So let's say you've been victim blamed. And Beta per se is all about that. It's not just the one example or just two women examples. It's nothing to do with your gender. The Medusa Gorgon. Okay, but watch my other videos about that. So, if you see that tone, it's very Urano Beta per se. It's like, hey, you're supposed to know that. Okay, go find that video. And Beta per se, let's say you've been victim blamed and you've been told, of what are you wearing? Okay? One act could be going to Gucci, going to Dior, going to this, going to that, getting in debt. Buying that clothes. Say, oh, in this clothes. I go. Say, why you buy this clothes? I say, but I don't know, I was harassed and said, what are you wearing? This is exactly one of the themes that are coming up. Now, it's not enough for this. It's also the housing. For example, if you've been living in neighborhood, okay? Let's say you're a man, okay? Living in neighborhood. And neighborhood bugs your neighborhood, this neighborhood, that. You go to psychologists, they say, maybe you're imagining. It's not happening to me. Then you get in debt. You buy or you rent place in a place where this is not happening. You come back to your psychologist, say, you know what? You are correct. I was imagining. But I can. But after the meeting, you say, well, I cannot pay you for this meeting. You say, why? Because I changed the location and now it's not happening. So that is the giant steps. Now, This is just personal lives, and people are going to do that. They're going to do that. Or let's say your type of person, let's say it's your 12th house, okay? Let's say Libra or Aries, your 12th house, or Cancer, where Mars is, or you're Scorpio. So you've been told you're an edgy person, you're this person, you're that person, you're that person. Then you've been told that at work, okay? 6th house. Then one weekend, you're not at work, no phone, nobody can reach you. So you come back after the eclipse. Fantastic. They ask you where you've been. You say, well, you told me I'm edgy, I'm crazy, I'm psycho. I said, I must take vacation and think about this. Perhaps now that your working conditions have been endangering my vitality, for which I sue you. Okay? This is Urano Beta per se. It's unequitable. Now, this is just people. I want you to think that and bring it to nations. Okay? Okay. Oh, yeah. So, on the level of politics, we might have internal rebellion against for what the conglomerate wants to do. If you think about State of Israel, having the talks of the ceasefire was to connect the Gaza with Lebanon. Okay? I am not intelligence. I don't know where the orders came from, but everybody was like, Israel, stop, Israel, stop, Israel, stop, Israel, stop. Then Israel does what? We're going to go boots on ground. We're going to go to the Yemen and we're going to explode the fucking airport. With everything. It's like hell broke loose. Enough is now. Now some of it is 2030, serving your agenda. And some of it can genuinely be certain internal authority that says, fuck it. Boots on ground in Lebanon. Okay? Now, that extremism, that Israel has lost its head concerning Hezbollah, not for the first time, okay? For the second Lebanon war was also Israel losing its head, okay? It was completely losing it. That Nasrallah said, if I knew, now, you say, yeah, but this is just one stream of intelligence, another stream of intelligence. Also true, but there are also many things that we don't know what happened within the intelligence itself. One stream against other stream, okay? And that move of, fuck it. Everybody says we do this, we do that. Uranus is genuinely unpredictable, okay? For the pros and cons of that, okay? It's genuinely gonna do what it does. Genuinely, okay? Uranus, Beta per se, is also Eureka. You think about all the digital ID, the social credit score, the this, the that. You think about so many people with amputated limbs, so many people claustrophobic, can't live in a 15-minute city in a big building. Like, no. A part of trauma side effects is claustrophobia. I mean, the person can't be in closed places. Or agoraphobia, cannot be with many people. That's life. Either the working market will have to accommodate, or they will have to find ways. And Urano Beta per se gives ways. It gives the sudden eureka. The sudden truth, the person, just one person says, fuck it. Now imagine that person is head of NATO, prime minister, okay, a colonel, somebody sitting in the WHO, somebody sitting in the West. Those are all these things that we really don't know what they will accumulate to, But definitely the Uranus part of this, we are liberating ourselves from the old balance, also the old way of ordering things. Okay, Saturn exalts in the scales. So there's a way of Saturn to create order that, even though it was exalted, still needs to change. Heuristics, okay? Aesthetics. We might be thinking about it. One of the things that is maybe a great time for some people to think about for what they consider aesthetics, okay? There are some things we considered, oh, we do that for aesthetic, and we find out it's not. Okay, the pedicure, manicure, facials, okay? All these treatments to the skin, the scalp, okay? There's some things where you dye your hair, you dye your hair, you dye your nails, you dye your nails. But there are all these things that we consider beauty treatments, they're not at all. You give massage to your face, you give massage to your feet. You remove for the dead skin, which is excellent for Ketu Libra. With Mercury, excellent. I'm not saying on the eclipse, but if it's meant for you, you know, okay? And so the way in which people will be treating that. Now we have the lunar eclipse in Pisces. We're going to have lots of tea talks. Lots of tea talks, because Saturn's in Pisces. Okay, especially about holistic. Yes? Bones, nails, okay, all these things. What food keeps you. For example, did you know that when you go to dentist, the anesthesia only works if you're not hungry or not stressed? So learning this information can change completely for the approach of a person. Decision making, and people are going to rebel. Uranalgal is still, it's about food. It's about, hey, I need that not just because I have gluttony, but because this food contains iron, this food contains amino acids, this food contains omegas. It's my life. It's not just my food, it's my life. Okay? Now people will make the change. Uranus is going to shift that balance for you. And the Saturn eclipse, okay, the eclipse in Libra is going to tip the scale. It's going to tip the scale. If up until now, to charge a debt from someone was so important that that person could not get checks, could not get out of the cycle of being in debt. Now, not asking for permission from the bank anymore. But this person will be able to rent an apartment, will be able to get into debt. Okay, there may be a lot of considerations around this, but the tipping of the scale for one direction or another direction. And again, Urano Beta per se is directly connected to will and consent. Also births. Another article I saw today, there was something that called a French cesarean birthing, and apparently one baby died recently. So again, one baby died. There could be many reasons he died, but one baby died. They banned this. Now, of course, they don't ban COVID toxin, after one person dead. So I'm not saying, I don't know, I don't know this procedure. I don't know if it's dangerous or not dangerous, but it's very fascinating, okay? For the tipping of the scales around birthing. Okay, the birthing technique, it's actually a procedure. For Mars also is where we make a surgery. Okay, it's the knife. And in the moon sign, it can be birthing that's to do with the knife, get a number of cuts. How do we basically cut the body to get the baby out? And that was supposed to be a non-invasive method, which is unclear why. Okay. So these are all things happening around the eclipse, where the tipping of the scale changes. Other things I saw, again, we can predict something that is going to be exposing for the goal themes. Okay, we talk about sexual boundary violation and so on, but this is also the face. Okay, Uranus is the face of Taurus that balances spirit and matter. Okay, it's the 5th lunar mansion, but it's also the 3rd face of Taurus, where you balance between that which you can touch, sense, and put in your mouth, okay, and that which is the senses beyond the senses, okay, that which you cannot describe by materia alone. Okay. Now, what is good experience, right? And when challenging experience, and there are the things that you can talk about as materia, okay? And there are the things that were considered something that's beyond. Uranus is technology, and technology allows us, late Larry Loudon, 1990s Larry Loudon, theoretical framework for my then thesis proposal. And that is, technology allows us to bridge the gap between innovative science and conservative science, because we are able to observe that which we were not able to observe. Okay? So we may have some sort of news around that can tip the scale at court. Another thing that can happen is people begin to talk for these facets that you weren't talking before. And it can take many forms. Okay? So, and not only that, we are going to be tipping the scale of something that follows on, kind of like the Me Too. Okay? But this one is way more giant. It's way more giant, it's way more fated, it's way more intense. It's the thing that people have been fearing to talk about, and it bears some sort of scientific, okay, back then also it was Aries squaring Pluto, but here we have some sort of a scientific revolution. Even astrology, okay, even astrology, we can take a look at certain developments happening in the field, or a certain time where astrology was repressed according to the frame, the paradigm for will and consent. Okay, we have, let's say, astrologers that were oppressing, okay, for this, and in the notation of the astrology says this is your karma. The astrology says that this is your karma, and person got raped, person this, person that. Then what eventually you do? You say fuck it. But you throw the science out. And now, for when we want to think about the renaissance of the astrology, well, we have to think about what is fitting for now. Okay. The eclipse Libra is going to change that, because Uranus is involved. Okay, so we're purging the way we saw astrology. We are purging the way we saw the sciences, the way we saw the sciences around digital coin, digital currency. Okay, for example, if a person escaped violence and before World War, they would never get their credit card to unregistered address. After World War, they would. Both cases were in risk of violence, lethal. In World War, they have more solutions. For some, maybe housing, maybe credit, maybe more food going around, okay, more donations, okay? So some people actually have more chances available for them when the problem becomes a pandemic. So this is a changing also of where we see the digital currency. That on the other hand, the problem becomes so big that so many people are involved, that people actually that have position to tend to that, now it affects them, and now they tend to that if they're not overwhelmed. Because the other way, when I talk about water expands upon cool, I talk about Neptune, the other way around can happen. Okay, where people are genuinely that numb, and the fatigue that has to do with, for example, if I lost a certain like Venus talisman and then I had the energy, okay, to move around, but if it was an animal or a person, I would be completely fatigued to even tend to that. The helplessness, the grief, the will I, want I, is there even a point? Okay, everything is so heavy, the emotion is so heavyweight that they're taking action and they're making it a fun game, and let's do a horror on it, or this, okay, turn it into something. We have to shift a giant wave and shift its direction, or shift the direction of the ship around the giant wave. Whereas if it's a talisman, I can say, okay, if somebody got it, then perhaps it's going to heal their moon issues or their Venus issues. Or perhaps it was fated that it's so, rather if it was an animal that went missing, it was a person that went missing. So, so that's Neptune, okay? With Uranus, however, is antithetical to Neptune. It shakes you up. There is the fuck it sense and the letting go. Okay? Just let it all break apart, let it all fall apart to fall into place. That's where Uranus. It's not the Pluto fall apart. It's not the type of grieving that Pluto brings. It's the sudden, fuck it, I let go. If you've been holding on to too much, it can be even possessions. Okay, if you're holding on to too much possessions, you could go minimalistic. But if you've been holding on to too much with not buying this, not buying that, no buying that, no buying that, no buying that, you say, fuck it. Okay, that's going to tip the scale, and is very likely timely, with a certain sort of liberation is actually needed to make you more flexible, which in turn allows you to be strong. Okay, strength is not just contraction, but it's also the ability to let go. It's also the rest. Okay. Also, if you have been fatigued, the scale could tip to the other side. If you've been not working, you could do for the other side. If you've been overworking, and this is where you have to be aware that your health might be affected, especially like on the 6th house, 12th house, you're being touched by that, you've been overworking, you might find yourself kaput, okay? Not dead, hopefully, but just sudden ailment. Suddenly, one sudden day, you can't go to work. I was, where I was in the real estate, there were at least three people that had issues with the bones. So the knee, the leg, the back, and bones are Saturn. Okay? And the Mars in this eclipse is trine in Saturn. Okay? Knee has to do with fear of progress. Okay, a back is how supported we feel in life. Leg, I don't need to tell you, okay? For the steps we're taking, but it can also be connection. It could also be meeting someone, meeting a family, and so on and so forth. Okay? You might feel an urge to do something, okay? Now Mercury is sitting pretty with the Sun. Today was Kizimi, and it's ruling over Jupiter, which is ruling over Saturn. So the bones in your feet, the skin in your feet. Okay, if you had a sudden urge to get a pedicure, you get a manicure, okay? And you might think of that as nothing, but on a holistic level, it's letting go of the old way, the old cellular memory around the steps that you take in life or around your work, okay? What do you do? In the Hebrew name, one of the Hebrew names for work is mishlach yad, okay? Which basically means where do you send your hands to? Okay, so what do you put your hands to? And those things can as well rise. So I know that the fixed star Vendia metrics or something like that, that the eclipse is conjuncting, and is still also associated with Zendaya. Okay, we're not done with Zendaya, which means we're no longer politically correct, we're no longer people pleasing, or we're no longer, as Lada said, harloting ourselves. And this is the fuck it, okay? So, and that can be crucial, okay? That can be where, I would not recommend the people to go to sex workers. They can cut your dick off. They're like, and it might be a sudden thing. They're like, fuck it, you wouldn't even know where it's coming from. Okay, that I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but this is a very risk thing, because people, especially for people that don't get to say yes, no, maybe, will need that fuck it thingy. Okay? Throw it off, break it off, let it all fall apart so it will fall into place. So that can be too. Okay, if people are like, yeah, it don't work, yes, the people are going to do human trafficking, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, just say, fuck it. Off with your head. Poof, poof, poof. Okay? No longer agreeing to that. So this is Zendaya. It's not even Urano Beta Rosé. Zendaya and Urano Beta Rosé. Okay? That's something, but it can also go from the point of with the people pleaser, okay? People can break up with relationships. Can also be for the other gender, okay? For men to say, okay, fuck it, I'm not your ATM, I'm not your this, I'm not your that, I'm not your that. Fuck it, I can't do this anymore. Okay? I need to rest. I need to sleep. I need to not work. Both these things can occur, and very suddenly. Okay? As to Vangeometrics is also where things a little fall apart to fall into place, because this is where we shift the perspective around a business, around where we go ahead in life. It's both the anxiousness, anxiety, what will be of me, and then the fuck it, I'm gonna take a step towards that. So we are shifting, we are purging fears, and there is something very Uranian about this. Okay? If somebody tries to, this is a very bad eclipse to do ultimatums to people. Okay? If somebody tries to put person in compromising position, whether in work or in a business deal or in relationships or something like that, any sort of that type of shit, okay? But that other person say, fuck it, no, okay? Fuck it. Now, you can imagine that there's going to be chaos because everybody's right. Everybody's letting go. Everybody's saying fuck it about something else. And so one person's effort collides with another person's effort. Okay? This is why a lot of relationships will get shifting of balance, but you can also go committed. Okay? One person that was dating around could say, F it, I want actual serious relationship. Okay? And a lot of hidden things that have undermined of what your essence of desire in life can be addressed now, or can be liberated now, because you no longer live in fear, you're taking action. Okay? And it's about an action of courage and impulsiveness. Now, the Rahu is in a first phase of Aries. And first phase of Aries, according to Austin Coppock, who also has Mercury in that phase, and I think a lot of spirit, no? Is phase where a person wants to take over the world. So you think about it, let's say the second house, you're not thinking about income. You're thinking about the type of contribution that makes people billionaires, and you might not even pay attention to that's what you're doing. Okay? But the effort that you say is gigantic. So because we know that where Rahu is, we know what we are letting go of. Okay? If I take a concrete example, for me I say, okay, fuck satanic ritual abuse. Fuck that. All of that comes down. What do you think I unlock for the energy block? Imagine that released. It's 9 millennia, at least 9 millennia ago. Okay? What would be Rahu? What would be the yes? Yeah, that's a place that wants to be filled with something, but you're so busy letting go of the blockages, you're not even seeing the gigantic for you moving. Okay? If it's on the 7th axis, the 8-2 axis, that can be of where either you go solo and you go, I don't know, traveling the world solo. This is all about me, because you've been doing people pleasing for way too long. Okay? Or you go from being solo to committed. Let's get married. Okay? 8, second house, either you've been the hard worker, the this, the that, you say, fuck it, I want a passive income. Or for the other way around. Okay? In passive income, in passive, you say, what has been undermining me going out and make a living for myself? The way I get bullied at work, the way this, the way that, for that. The cult. Off with the cult. Okay? So what type of, if you off with that gigantic energy block, imagine of what kind of success you're meant to do. Okay? This is why Rahu here is very important, because the taking over the world is denoted with the head of the dragon. And the ruler Mars is in sign of housing, sign of nations. I said this is going to be the spring of nations, but this is a winter. It's not for nothing if you watch my astrological considerations for declarations of independence, how important location of the moon is. Okay? Housing first, with open dialogue, eventually practice where in Finland. They did all the wrong things that everybody did, still do. Moon in Taurus. Belgium, they literally had to replace the people with migration following the Marche de Croix. Okay, 1996, the White March. They had to replace for the people, because otherwise the people, again, moon in Taurus. So that's going to be important. Okay, Mars will in real estate. Banking. There's a shift of perspective, a sudden shift of perspective. Okay, I've been in a place called Kikar Medina, which is basically the place where it's kind of when you think about put it on the Ritz. That was to put it on the Ritz. Okay, and you see so much MK Ultra there. So much, with every shop MK Ultra. I did a manicure. The lady does my manicure, and this thing that you use for your nails. Just see this monarch symbol. Yeah, I didn't say anything, of course, and maybe it's very likely she doesn't know anything. So I'm like, so much MK Ultra. Everything MK Ultra. Our clothes MK Ultra. Adidas MK Ultra. MK Ultra Energy. MK Ultra. What the fuck is that? Okay? Get us along. What the fuck is that? But then I see what the place where for years and years and years there was a garden. And you could walk with the dog, or you could sit and something like that. They're building 2 buildings. Let's tell the people, you guys are crazy for letting this happen. All of this is going to be the projects. For everything around, it's going to be the projects. They're going to haunt you like did to build more buildings than Manhattan. Where are the forests? Where are the trees? But you can pull them on the roof of the skyscraper. Okay? Because or there will be crime, because if it's not enough trees. And then I was actually going through a street in Tel Aviv, very, very close to the everything central, but the street itself filled with trees. You were walking inside the forest where some buildings grow, in the middle of the city. And one of the ladies, the 2 girls walking in front of me, said, well, to rent here is a kidney, Libra. To rent. Why? Because the trees give you peace of mind, not just the air. It's nervous system supportive housing, yes? And it all has to be there. Okay? So think about what's done with the cities. What are we changing into? I saw videos of roads, okay, and I love to watch road drives, okay? In China, you see in Japan, some cities, for miles and miles and miles, buildings, just concrete. Okay. How do you think nervous system works with just concrete? No trees, okay? Now I'm a city girl. I grew up in a city. But it's different when city, so you have the city, you have the mall, you have the this, you have the trees, you have the parks. I would not take the bus because so much traffic. I would walk to work by foot. Okay? Then you walk through the park, you cross to the park, and then you go to the main street and you're at work. It's your nervous system. Mars ruling Rahu here is in the sign of housing, in the sign of nation, in the sign of people. Yes, there can be conflicts between people. I'm not saying civil war, it's not Gemini Uranus, but there can be conflicts between people. Okay? So, on the other hand, Mars, Rahu is in sign of innovation. So we want the new. We want the new to be hospitable. The people are going to have big ideas. New ways to do housing. New ways to buy real estate. New thoughts. Okay? What's the place of housing in our life? What's the place of food in our life? Lots of new things. Innovative thought. But this is the phase of Aries where one takes over the world. Okay? So when it comes to world leaders that have placements in here, some people even have Lilith in here. Okay? We are doing Ketu Lilith, but this means we are purging the old notions of Lilith. So whether you saw her as a succubus, or as the first feminist, is you're gonna get another perspective, which I talked about, but then you are moving on to the first decade of Aries, and Lilith themes are going to be enormously important. Okay, while Lilith can be the internal to the experience of person, Lilith Aries is very you could say self-centered, but is definitely not people-pleasing. Lilith in general is not people-pleasing. Lilith in Aries is not even trying to be elegant about it. Okay? Some of the generations still have Aries, okay, around where with the opposition, okay, the eclipse is going to be opposition to those Arieses, so the Aries in the middle phase and the Aries in the first phase of Aries. Okay, this is not Aries on Andromeda. Aries on Andromeda is about including that which was not included before. Because Aries is transit in Andromeda, we can call on Andromeda and call on Aries in Andromeda to work with this Aries. Okay, it might be an innovative way to work with Aries as we speak. That being said, all the themes of those who were not included, okay, those who enjoy throwing chaos because of the way in which they were not taken into consideration, join that with Lilith, you get really intense eclipse. Okay, on a mundane level, they're definitely, let's say, it's really worth to tend to expandable children from the basis of understanding that all of who are associated with that were the expandable children grown. Okay, this is not the type where you could use expandable children to say, oh, this is a pedo, that is a pedo, this is a this is a that. No, it asks you to go deeper, because that Aries, she likes to talk chaos. Okay. Now this is particularly robust when you think about people who've been purging niceness and people who've had it with the Lilith, with the Aries. Okay, so that one wanted to talk chaos, and that one said, I've had it, be nice to people. Okay, calling on Aries in Andromeda, calling on Andromeda, where Aries is now transiting, and Aries in Andromeda to say, for to include that which was not, yes, included, because in that case, both people are going to feel not included, both people are going to feel the Aries. And then you get one person throwing chaos at another person throwing chaos at another. Okay? Where in fact the common ground for them is for the Aries person to understand that they are not dealing with person who's not aware, but dealing with person who has given so many chances to include that which society sees as evil, that once they say, fuck it. Okay? And this is highly important to understand. For most humanity, Aries is still in Aries. Okay? So this is where we can have a lot of really of the risk potential. Okay? But at the same time, because so many people are speaking up, okay, because so many people are speaking up, this mitigates to the extremities in an unusual way. Okay, that which you feared or were terrified from, you say, fuck it. People are going to be talking about what they never talked about. And it's going to be surprisingly consensus. The people who think alike to you, there's going to be surprisingly consensus. You may find out you have consensus you didn't believe that you have with people you didn't believe that you have. Because everybody's going out of people pleasing, out of the purging diplomacy. Okay? And then from that point of view, we get the chance to see what the conglomerate of Aries is. We all have Aries and Aries. All of us. That's why I said this is eclipse where everybody's right. Everybody has a point. And the discussion is going to be in spirit and in matter. Okay? But note that everybody has both have this fuck it moment, and everybody felt that they need to be included. Now, this is another thing. If you have been the person who feels disincluded, doesn't belong, you might feel for the other way around. Okay? Sudden feeling like you have family, you have a sense of inclusivity in spirit. And you might also find out in matter. Okay? If you've been feeling that all the time feeling included, you never knew what not included means, this might be more potentially problematic for you, because you might get to feel what it feels like for people not included. Okay, so this is again where we want to call on Andromeda. Okay, we want to call on Andromeda to reconcile for this eclipse. She's not sitting on the eclipse line directly, but calling on her, because Aries is there, can be very, very useful. So yes, it's very chaotic, even though Pluto is not doing anything malefic. Okay, Pluto just being Pluto. It does station someone this week, but it's not doing anything. It's not squaring the eclipse. It's not any of that that sends people to the dark ages. So with Pluto we have less to worry. With Neptune it just sextiles Uranus, so Pluto is indirectly involved by a trine to Uranus, which is okay, but it's also the time where the rebel and the politician agrees. Okay. Okay, this is that's something you want to think about, because Pluto Capricorn is the plutocrat. Okay? And with Neptune, the rebel, the psychiatrist or the drug dealer, and the plutocrat or the hidden cult agree. This is harmonious, but they come together to some sort of agreement. Okay, so you understand that when all these three forces agree, a myriad of things can happen. Okay, it is not the square or the opposition or the hard aspects that we are. All that the world war is happening, first of all. Okay? Me Too, for example, happened when Uranus conjuncted Aries, hard aspect, and squared Pluto. So there was this question of how to rebel. Okay? Should we go from within the system or from outside the system? Or should we rebel from within the system to change, to correct the system? Okay? And we had a little bit of Pluto saying something, a little bit of Aries saying something, and both were in conflict with each other, but this is aspect of growth. Okay? So there was a side of the system, it was like, I am sovereign, libertarian, so on. They learned that something else, system can also be useful, serve, and so on. For those who were inside system, said, okay, we need to rebel a bit, we need to change, we need to take a power, to take a sovereignty. And that, of course, changed for the way we think and so on. Okay? So Me Too was not a concern. Another thing that happened, what happened? Julian Assange okay, was Belmarched. He did not get immunity. In Ecuador, now for the same scenario we have, but this one is not Julian Assange. This one is the new head of NATO. Okay, Mark Rutte. Will he get immunity? Will not get immunity? As compared to the case for Julian Assange, he did not get immunity. So, this is one of these aspects where it's way more gigantic than 2017. Okay? 2017, a Me Too veteran says that and that person in that and that rank, for this name, they did so and so to me. Okay? For the inside, for the culting, she could have said she didn't even know what the F is going on. Okay, there's something very weird happening. But if you talk about it, think it's psychotic. That we know about housing first, the open dialogue, which practiced in Finland, Finlandization of Europe. We put in ein Finland. We might lose Finland. All of these things, and can connect to what we saw, what the changes, what is willing consent. Okay, what is the candida that people have, or the yeast infection, okay? What is what people think that they are impotent, they're not impotent, they're just like, oh, she was thinking about, or the partner was thinking about something, it's like, they're not attuned. If we are attuned, then you're not hot because they're not there. How can you be there? You're not an impotent, okay? Unless it's coming from the cult, then it's coming not in you, because you're used to see that which is, that you lay with as the feminine, and the feminine as weak, and the this and that is humiliating. Then how can you soften up without thinking yourself, and what happens? You think it's kaput. Doesn't play with that shit. It's so, okay, for Mars, Venus, blood flow, iron, innovation, telos, okay, direction, action, okay? None of that entails rape. None of that. But that would be inversion, not even Art of War. Art of War is an alchemy for to assert oneself with least amount of energy. Nature. Least amount of energy for to get what you need, and that's it. Okay? All these stigmas, all these inversions, all these hermaphrodite cults, they'll be targeting. But how can we do that but in a way that creates trauma? How can we do Mars in a way that creates trauma? All that, none of that. None of that Mars. None of that men. None of that penis. None of that blood flow. None of that direction, passion. None of that. Okay? So that changed following the Me Too. So people began to see what do I don't like, and you say, okay, what do I do like? There was a booming of sex positive sex education industry. Now we are past that. We learned that. Wow. Okay. And it's something way more gigantic. Okay, now what was the Me Too veteran is now the person, this satanic ritual abuse survivor. And they're now being believed. And that could be a leader, a business person, and the people that were hurt by them. Okay, people like Lars saying, I got abused by builders, by Rutte, but they got abused as well. Not just offenders, it was all the children for doing that to one another. All funded by places like the Robobank. You have to do this. They picked by bloodline and so on. Okay? Different thing. So now we're not just taking, they said so and so, they touched so and so. No. There was survivors are saying, oh, people will remember, it was so that people will remember the pedophilia, but they would not remember for what that programming was for intelligence, global intelligence. What people call MK Ultra. You think about the 90s satanic panic, people call it satanic panic, okay? And then you think about Me Too, and then you think about 2024. You think about the 1100, okay, Netherlands, kidnapped children. Of course, it's going to pop the discussion. It was like, hey, why are we talking about this only when it comes to taxation that's been happening globally for years? But everybody, refugees, not refugees, okay? It's what top bankers do. And when they want out of the cold, they find themselves in Brussels. Okay, listen to Ronald Bernard. Okay, so now the Assange case is now head of NATO. Will he get, will he won't get immunity? And the Me Too veteran is now satanic ritual abuse survivor that could both be the marginalized, not included, that is like, oh, that's the person you didn't think about. It's like the person you didn't, just a common person, okay? Or maybe a homeless person, maybe some way this included. And that can be head of NATO, Mark Rutte. According to testimony of Lars, he's satanic ritual abuse and not necessarily survivor because he's still in there. So very, very powerful tip of the scales, okay? It's kind of like the mirror image of 1939 to 1941, okay? Uranus in the same place. But then Aries is already in Aries. We see the result of the Übermensch, okay? What is the superhuman? MK Ultra. Pluto not in Gemini or going to Cancer, Leo, but the opposite, which is right where it was for Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the opposite, okay, 180 from there. It's the mirror image. One of the first astrologers that talked about this was actually Ksenia Moore, years ago. She said it's going to be mirror image of the Second World War, but for the mirror image. Okay? More things to say. Yes, Mars is going to square the luminaries, which we know. That means that there is friction between the perspective and the action. And that friction stems from both Venus being in Mars sign, which actually trines Mars, and I talked about this. Okay, it's like, oh, what is our perspective of this issue? Well, it's so and so. Okay, but what is the issue? Well, that issue entails a certain sort of action that contradicts what we just said. Okay? Think about when I talked about will and consent, and the person has been violated, and because of that they've been financially abused, and now they say fuck it and they just get into debt. Okay, it's contrary to the view of will and consent is important, because basically you violate the will and consent of, let's say, business and so on, but then there's the fuck it, I need food, and I don't have that because I've been violated, because at workplace was sexual harassment, because every business is MK Ultra, because this, because that, okay? The fuck it. So the action taken is because of this perspective. We take actions contradiction with this perspective, but it's not in contradiction with the topic at hand, with the ontological unit at which we look at, which is ruled by Venus in 11 degrees Scorpio, which is ruled Alphabet is Mars. We're basically taking a look at our course of action, which requires us to make this course of action to get away from the previous tipping of the scales. Okay? So think about it. Okay, the employee that they get away from the MK Ultra reality at work, they had to do a trickery, okay, to steal food, or to steal money, or to do something of that sort. Trickery here is more the Mercury. Okay, Mercury, it's going to be 11 degrees Libra. I said 11 degrees Scorpio, but no, Mercury is Kazim. It's going to be 11 degrees Libra. And this is a Mercury that is excellent at tipping the scale. Mercury, trickery, cunningness, being informed, technique, okay, innovative technique, innovative technology, that being informed, and it acts in Libra for the tipping of the scales. A trickery, a form of trickery, allows you to tip the scales but the other way around. Okay? One thing that just happened to me, but it was just the conglomerate of things, was psychologists threatened my life around after the Me Too. And then I didn't know that I would whistleblow on what I whistleblow today, okay? But I said, well, I don't want to kill myself. This is the name so-and-so. Yes, it's my own sort of the clinical psychologist. So if God forbid something happens to me, you know this is your man, okay? And then I started talking about MK Ultra, satanic ritual abuse, what happened in Netherlands, what happened in Israel, what happened in the world, the Twin Towers, everything. It was like, then I was like yesterday thinking about it, so this is so funny. This was it just happened, but it was the tipping of the scale. Because from being threatened for my life, as advocate, now you're in charge to keep me alive. Because if something happens to me, I want to talk about whatever. If something happens to me, they're going to look for you. Okay? And I had a strong energy. Okay, if I actually one of parliament people pushing, say it at me, say it. And I say it like, finally. Okay? I need to say that. Say that thing. Fuck it. Okay? So from a person thinking, oh, this is just a patient, they're gonna crunch up, they're gonna fear me, they're gonna this, they're gonna that, they're gonna and rapes and this and that and also because they cannot see this. Okay? Then now we're gonna talk about everything. I've got to say a name. Okay? This is what Mercury is excellent in doing. And put the Uranus while go. Okay? No more fear. No more people pleasing. No more succumbing to compromising situations. Okay? The tipping of the scale. So we're going to see that on a very, very powerful, unusual, unexpected level, where people say, no more will I, And definitely when it comes to compromise, Ketu Libra, I said what I said, we are purging diplomacy. Okay? But definitely, it's not about, if you think the purging diplomacy, and we can use fear tactic, we can use oppression tactic, we can use this, we can use that. No, we cannot. We go into sovereignty. But the sovereignty must be allowed, because if anybody oppressed, it falls down like Tower of Cards. This is why people like years where, if it all the worse, Ra is in Aries. Because people say, I am. And we cannot say we are without being able each one to say I am. Okay? Very important before Saturn and Neptune gets into Aries, where Saturn is restriction and limitation, Aries sovereignty. Okay, watch Astro Victor, did great coverage of that. Okay? It's very important to say I am, because when Saturn comes to Aries, it's going to ground this. It's going to give it certification. It's going to give it, it's going to be accountability to that I am. Okay, let's give it a structure. What do we put in that structure is the I am. So no longer can we compromise, because Saturn is going to cement it. What you are, and this is why we are moving to express all that we are. If you say what I am, this is what I am. Okay? A lot of people are not going to buy into personality disorders anymore. But they're going to require for the living situation to accommodate for them. Because if once you can say, okay, I am cuckoo, then you get studies. I am cuckoo, you get housing. Because if you don't say I'm cuckoo, you are in the street. People won't do that anymore. You say, you want me to be Hitler? No. Give me housing that support my nervous system, that I'm safe in, independently of work. Because I'm not crazy, I'm not imagining. And I am entitled to life with dignity, respect, and so on and so forth. So we're going to have a surge of people saying that. And this is where we're going to cement things. We've got a lot of new countries, a lot of new declarations of independence. Okay, Saturn Neptune is going to be a booming of declarations of independence. Saturn is a document, it's a bureaucratic document. Neptune, so we're going viral. Aries, sovereignty. Okay, new nation, new concept, new house. Okay, so this one is pretty much the last, yes, it's the last eclipse in Libra, Libra Aries. Last of them. We're moving to the next cycle of eclipses, which is Virgo Pisces. So all that there was to purge about being diplomatic about something is being completely purged, so much so as we can to the cycle of eclipses. Okay, and we prepare ourselves for when there's going to be a document for that. Okay, but everything that created a previous identity, because it's no identity, because in a way of limitation. Okay, you had to be called a neurodivergent to have a room that you have free of noises at work, because there was no way to consider your well-being before that. You might say, fuck it, I'm not neurodivergent, but if you don't give me a place where I can work in calmity, it's gonna be 9/11 on this business. Why? Why you want me to 9/11 me? You want me to jump off the building? No, the building goes boom. Aries is in Aries, okay? The one person you said, it's okay, they can jump off the building, says no, I'm gonna take entire building down. This is Aries in Aries, okay? And this is not eclipse where and again, it's not gonna be every person, particularly the people who have Aries in the first phase of Aries. Okay, if we're talking about the 50s, okay, with some of the 60s, and the 40s. Okay, people born during the 40s, the 50s, some of the 60s. Those are the people that have Aries in the first phase of Aries. Okay, those are the people, okay, not me, I'm 40. Okay, middle phase. But those are the people that can say, F it, you are okay with me jumping off that building, okay? So say it, you're okay with me jumping off that building because I don't have a place where I can work calm, peace of mind without you calling me names. That have medical things that limit my housing options, that limit my income options, that limit my taking mortgage options, that limit my ability to get a good bargain on life insurance. You're okay, say you're okay. But tomorrow this whole building goes down, 9/11 of the whole building. Because you are okay for me jumping off that building into my death. Okay? Those the people. It's the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s that had enough of having enough. And those the people that, if we have of those generations, okay, political prisoners, agenda contributors, okay, with 2030, World Economic Forum, NATO, okay, not just Rutte, the entire conglomerate, world leaders, WHO, okay, but these are the people. So no longer will we agree to accept the medical tag that grants us the ability to survive, because no one will be live by the medical tag. Okay, people will not agree to that, and it's important because, but otherwise Saturn, Neptune going to come, so you're going to have a certificate, and now your identity is cemented, and Neptune is also the medical field. Okay. Now remember, Neptune has Neptune karma, just like in Pisces. We think about 2012, if we think about Neptune coming now to end of Pisces, closing in things from 2012. Okay, missing people, missing that, spies, with how we view drug cartels, okay, the babies in case, and so on. How it connects with the WHO and the Supreme Court. There are molds for the WHO, the molds for intelligence and so on, and MQ and whatnot, okay? For all these things, there's so many people had this channeling experience, had this experience, had that experience, okay? They never had before. Neptune Aries is going to have, Saturn will move out after 3 years. Neptune is Neptune karma. So, if we, and for psychiatry, these people, they must set a good intention and a good action, because the Neptune karma here can be so intense. Psychiatrists must understand they should be willing to take the treatment they prescribe, because they will. Okay? It is not Pisces so much, because Pisces is, it's more Jupiterian, it's more the worldview, or maybe you have Jupiterian people missing, or religion, okay? Aries is identity. It's the I am. Okay, so for those psychiatrists that think that you have to depend on them to get the sovereignty, dignity, okay? If they don't set the good seeds with Saturn, Neptune in Aries, okay, they will go through that Neptune karma, not Saturn karma, Neptune karma. They will be treated the way they treat for other people, okay? So, and this is also true to healers, to shamans. Wow. Now, Neptune has grace. It has, grace. It has repent. It has this. It has that. Okay. The Mars of Aries can be impulsive. We will have a conjoining of Neptune and Aries in Aries. Okay. Neptune will reach Andromeda. Okay. The end phase of Aries is Andromeda, which you can call on for. But definitely, I would like, why set the stage so that you will have to call on Andromeda, where you cannot kidnap people in the name of this person is crazy, deprive them of their rights, drug them to death, and have them depend on their own identity or certificate in your praxis. Saturn, Neptune is going to start a cycle of 28 years for psychiatry as well, for channeling as well, for healers as well, astrologers also. Locating invoking Loki, locating for the missing people. Okay? Identity certification, all these things. Now we are building up to that because we are clearing the slate of where we compromised our very identity, because the shadow state of Libra, for the sake of peace. Okay? We could meet our interest by changing our identity, clearing the slate, because there's going to be the Saturn Neptune that wants to put a certificate on this. Very important. People think about nationality. Okay, now is the time to make changes in your motherlands. No matter how many passports you got or don't have. Okay, now is the time to make the changes, to make the contribution, because Saturn Aries with Neptune, okay, the Saturn sets the stamp. Now it's going to be this country, now it's going to be that country, okay? Because sovereignty matters here. Of course, Neptune, Saturn, Aries is when they're going to try to have one world country, okay? So think, okay, what are the options? What is your state of sovereignty in this one world country? Okay? Because I'm half Dutch, we would say we are citizens of the world. Okay? With Dutch outcaring, of course, for those who have it. But yes, but we would say citizens of the world. Okay? So, one world, saying, oh, what if we had no borders? What if we all lived as one? Okay? Yeah, okay. But the sovereignty must be protected, must be saved. The I am has to thrive. Reset. Reclaim it, reset. A new world order, okay? But Aries, this new world order where we remember that the world is of sovereign individuals. Or else, where Uranus is going to be? In Gemini, trine in Pluto and Aquarius. Okay? Either we're all sovereign and have dignity or respect, or the entire world is going down. Okay? Now is last eclipse where we clear up the old. Okay? Before Ketu goes into Virgo, and we're going to be purging everything, Virgo. Okay, all the secrets for the Pluto Virgos. Gonna have another chance. It is one other time where all the Pluto Virgos, the Urano Virgos, okay, you had the Pluto-Uranus conjunction in Virgo, okay? All secrets out. On the table. All cards on the table. Okay? The death camps, the electrocution, the hidden abuse of children, the way that the children grew up, the parenting style, okay, the trade in children, the medical experiments, okay, chemistry are done in children, the involvement of law, okay, on the authors, the involvement of technology, engineering, social engineering, all of these things, all purged. Okay. Wow. And Jupiter is going to be, at least in the beginning, in Cancer. So you're going to, it's now a little bit in Gemini, then Cancer, then Leo. Wow. Okay? So we're talking about the beliefs of the people, new beliefs of the people, new beliefs in the people, and then new worldview of our performers, of our leaders, solar figures. Then we see the order here and how sovereignty plays into that, and the I am plays into that. And with Aries, there's no patience, no time for that. Okay, that should have been centuries ago. Nobody has patience. Nobody got time for that, and people won't have time for the gaslighting that they tend to have time to in Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio is a very deep psychological transformation from the core. Aries ain't got time for that. Okay, and sometimes the simplicity of Aries around things, and the quickness of Aries, and the innovative and the I amness of Aries is what we're called for. Okay, not necessarily the deeply scorpionic, let's delve into that, let's see what is this person bringing in me, or you're shit fuck triggered by incredibly abusive person who's like, oh, this is a mirror to my soul. The Aries ain't got time for that. Okay? And sometimes that's what's called for. Wow. Okay? There's the merit of Scorpio now. Scorpio is involved because it's Mars. It's Mars, okay? So we're gonna have to make decisions, and it's also the tipping of the scale of how we've been doing Mars. We've been doing it Aries-like. We're called to do it Aries-like, or were we doing it Scorpio-like? Okay? If you've been the type of person like, let's get into it from the core and Aries comes, Aries eclipses. You may have been, okay, enough with that. Let's just do it. Alternatively, it can also be the case, because Venus is in Mars sign Scorpio, that with this eclipse, if you've been the type of person that go, now you're being called to, okay, let's reach deeper. Okay, let's reach deeper. Okay, let's reach deeper. Okay, especially when it comes to housing, fertility issues, curating mother wounds, separating from your upbringing house, individuating, okay, all those things, but also individuating regarding to your motherland, to other people, issues of the people, all these things. Now it depends if Mars is the malefic of sect. Okay, if it's on your team, then it's going to be experienced easier for you. If it's not, you might be feeling that as crisis. Okay, somebody acts their Mars out, and that comes as a crisis point. Okay, for example, a person that has Mars as the team of sect, they may get, I don't know, a little accident, and it's a happy accident because they had that was tension in the muscle. If you think about the neurological story of a person that got shot in the head, it's like a really extreme example. And before that, they had like these neurological diseases and so on. And then after that, it just got fixed. Okay, so that could be Mars as your team of sect. Whereas if you get shot, it's the malefic out of sect, you might die. Okay, so. So that is something to consider. So Mars, Rahu eclipses are highly challenging to people who were born during the day, okay, when sun is above the horizon. Because this is where something comes at you and it's like completely to the other team. Okay? It's not, now you can learn from that. It's not that the other team is not something you can learn from. Especially if you have Saturn-Mars connection. Now Saturn is trining Mars, so you can work okay with the other team with this eclipse. which is why I guess people say, oh, that will end worse. Yes, maybe it will do it in a very unusual way, okay? Because there is this unusual cooperation here with this Mars and Saturn, and Mars is trining Venus, but Mars is squaring the luminaries. So if you think about how your parents did it, Sun and Moon, and how you guys do it, that's going to conflict with how your parents did it, but it's also going to be addressing the topic at hand in light of the perspective that they shadow. If I give another concrete example, when I wrote Sugar-Free Lemonade, I talked about the structure of the academic structure. It's basically patriarchal church, and I talked about it, the entire structure and so on. And then had a person that was reaching out to me. Not even my friend didn't know me yet, and they were reaching out to me and saying, "Oh, that happened to me in University Haifa," and that was my first, of course. And now, because of what I read of you, I'm going to sue for the university. Don't shoot the messenger. For the university and for the person, because you have to sue for the person. And I thought to myself, how did you think that? How did you reach that? But lawyers are trained in this academy. And she said to me, you know what? When I made that decision to sue, and with that, I felt calmer, like I'm in the right place in my life. And indeed, 8 years later, she got big results. She got the name of the university exposed, she got her name exposed, and she got the fact that they tried to blackmail her also exposed, because if they offered her money and they said, well, now you want to say the name of your university, we'll take the money back. And a judge was involved, by the way, I can't say it, okay, they said it. Really, how come I can't say the name of the judge? I mean, it's on the verdict. It's open. If the judges were discussing, I don't remember what's the verdict. What's the verdict? Open, okay. Oh no, that judge name is actually on another Charms case. So anyway, I wrote the satire to show that we have to change for the structure. She said, I'm going to sue, which is within the structure. I said, how did you get that with me? Okay, so her action was contradicting to my perspective, but it was relevant for her passage in light of my perspective. We have same eclipse right now. Okay, so mother, father say something, which is like, eureka, then we do something and they go, how did you get to do that? and that's the case, okay? There's a shift of perspective, but our actions have a little bit of a contradiction, a friction, but is addressing the topic at hand harmonically. Okay? But we know that University Haifa tried to bribe Maya Fierce so she would not say University Haifa on the name, but it was human trafficking, okay? But just Me Too in workplace, it means human trafficking, okay? It means that the person get paid for to do sex work. It's human trafficking, sex trafficking. If she said no, she was sexually harassed. Okay? It's human trafficking. In academia. What the MK Ultra? Because they will remember the human trafficking, they won't talk about the intelligence. So, so this is another example where we might have such similar things this eclipse, okay? We have illumination, Illuminati is well of the illumination, okay? And the ruler of the topic at hand is being handled well by this Venus-Mars and Mars-Saturn, which is grand trine, okay? However, it's going to not make sense to the Sun and Moon. Okay? Those who shifted our perspective are going to be dumbfounded by what we do about it. And yet, we're not wrong. And Mars and Saturn working together, it means that your team and the other team are working together successfully towards something. Now, if you say, this will end the World War, okay, just expect it to not match your perspective. Okay? And it might happen in the quite, after Second World War, women got the right to vote. We definitely cannot ignore what took place in World War. We definitely cannot ignore the fact that in retrospective, we understand that all of those Nazis in all of these countries were the expandable children that didn't manage to kill. So now that mirror image is bringing up exactly these topics again. And people have had enough of having enough, so much so that they just speak up. Okay? They just speak up and they act on their sovereignty. The good thing is now you're doing something that if in the past there was the square, or if your natal chart has the square, now you're doing something that will actually succeed. Things to do with filmmaking, anything Neptunian. Filmmaking, energy stuff, even developing certain type of pharmaceuticals, okay? And they said, surely say pharmaceutical? Yeah, it's the same surely that tells you that there are pills against the cancer that causes remission to terminally ill people, and they're not torture. And then the budget stops. Addressing that can be particularly fortunate under this eclipse. Okay? So the actions that we take are going to have duration. We're going to see it through. One way or another, we're going to see it through. If you've been trying to write a book, okay, that has anything to do with what I just said, and you never managed to finish a book, you might start something about it. Don't know to give you the perfect delay. It's eclipse. It's fated for you to do it. You will see it through. Certain business venture, okay? And again, you're going to feel the call. It's going to just happen. You will see it through. Okay? Relationships. Okay, but also if you've been trying to cut off addiction, trying to cut off relationships, go on and off and on and on and on, you will see it through. Okay, you will let that go. Just drinking from a straw and thinking about a colleague that said, it's the last straw situation, the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay, so that's what people say, that's the fuck it, but it's also for when commitment is true, you will see it through. And it can be benefic. Now with Venus in Scorpio, it is a Venus Scorpio, okay? It is a Venus that is Venus Scorpio. Here's the thing about the 11th degree, okay? 11th degree, well, it can be associated with suicide, but it's also Uranian. It's technology, the sudden thing. Okay, for example, when I was checking for my Venus talisman, the midheaven was 11th degree Capricorn, and I said, well, probably it's at the airport because the electricity and stuff. I was like, nobody commits suicide. I was like, okay, that must be electricity. That must be a place for it. Maybe electric, because the ruler was in the 12th. So it was an electric bathroom, like electric bathroom. That eventually was in my bag, but it very likely got in there when I was in the bathroom, okay, at the airport. So 11th degree for this Venus can mean that you will fly together. You will create something, sort of a revolution together. The Venusian in particular is rebellious, okay? And again, it's highly Uranian. It's yet another Uranian factor for this eclipse. So, and yet, Venus in Scorpio is still Venus in Scorpio. Okay, sidereally, she's in Libra. You can think about it. You can change your mind. Sidereally, this Venus is in Libra. Okay, I got Jupiter in Capricorn tropically. Okay, whenever I want to play with myself, I say sidereally, this Jupiter in Sagittarius. Then I remind myself that Adolf Hitler also had Jupiter in Capricorn. I said, well, sidereal. Okay, that doesn't work. It's Jupiter in Capricorn, we can tend to that. Okay, but sidereally, it's Jupiter in Sagittarius, in its own sign. So Venus is sidereally in Libra, but she's tropically in Scorpio. And that means she is intense, she is unusually scorpionic, and she's deep, and she is going to change things from the core. Okay? And it's going to be sudden. So I said what I said about Uranus in Scorpio, that's not the easiest sign to have a Uranian placement, because Uranus is sudden, is shock, is also relief from shock, okay? It's Eureka, it's Kundalini surge, okay? Scorpio, it's the depth of the well. So thinking about something shaking the depth of the well suddenly. To liberate it, okay? It's a fixed sign. Okay? Everything's my fault. It's just sky, okay? But some people have natal, for example, Uranus in Scorpio. Not me, fortunately. For my people around. For myself at the front. Okay, but when the Uranus Scorpio had a Uranus opposition, some of them are still having it. Boy, oh boy. Okay, things were coming. I was like, what the fuck happened? Is that what my Mars 22 doing in your 5th house? I'm going to take me and my Mars away. Okay, that was, okay, that's one intensity to pull through, because Uranus in itself is not about intensity. It's about a release from intensity, a relief, a dissolution. It dissolves, it scatters everything around. So you have an energy block, you put Uranus in, it's just going to scatter everything around. But if it's scorpionic, that's powerful. And Venus is going to be on the Uranian degree in Scorpio. So expect everybody to have a moment. Okay? And again, if you count on Venus to bless an enemy, that's the wrong eclipse to mess with Venus. Okay? But if you've been the type of Venus that's been oppressing Mars, it's also the wrong eclipse to do it. Okay? And there's always going to be for this side and that side. Okay? But again, with Uranus, the emphasis is not on the karma. With Libra, yes, it's tipping of the scale. But Uranus is not on the karma, but on the liberation. Okay? So again, allowing things to take their course is one thing. Things are going to get unusual on you. And allowing the excitement, there's something very electric about this. For example, today I saw an electric bus for the first time. Okay? It's tiny. It looks so sweet. There was a driver. It's not the driverless, but it was tiny. It just looks so sweet. So tiny. It just looked like a little puppy. It was so beautiful. And I was like, I wasn't expecting to get excited about electric buses. Okay? So that was just a funny moment. We were strolling in the city. It was, what is this little sausage that I saw here? I was like, what was that? That is so cute. Okay? That's the electric bus. It doesn't look like a bus. It looks like a small cab or something. Not to say so. There are going to be unexpected small things and unexpected big things that are going to accompany us. Sudden shifts of energy. So, and there's also a sense of lightening up that's happening with the Uranus eclipses, okay? Because Libra topics are very heavy, especially Sun in Libra. Okay? This is like the balancing, the weighting of this against that. Okay, Libra is that whenever something was in Libra, I had both the urge to buy makeup and the lack of decision around this. Okay? And this was the time where suddenly I began to communicate with those cosmetics girls at the shops, where they're like, "Oh, would you help me do this? Could you help me do that? What color should I speak?" And they're like, "Look, that was not me." They're like, I would usually be this person that just goes there whenever I see a human being, flies away to the other department, and then just goes there and observes the things, not really knowing what to do with that. Buys a lipstick, use it for 3 days, and then forget about it for 3 decades. Okay? And so I'm communicative. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Maybe try this. Maybe try that. And that was very, a Uranian change to something that's very simple as aesthetics. Okay, it's Libra. So that is another thing that you might see with that. Astrological products. So it's great time. It's a great hour of talismans, astrological talismans of any kind. Okay. So people might begin to work with them. They might become more widespread, more widely known. So that can be a thing, and new kinds of astrological talismans. Okay, new types of stars that we work with, new types of yogas that we work with, new types of techniques that we work with, new types of algol talismans. We're going to renovate the way we do them. That is another thing that pops to mind. New types of remediations and so on. Okay, more things to say about here the previous days. Definitely something going on with electricity. I know I've been to the train, and then I traveled on the way here, and I tried the electricity of the train. None of it worked. Till I got to the mall, and then later the airport, and I was like, that's so interesting. It's never happened to me. As far as I remember, that on the train, the electricity doesn't work. So we're gonna have weird stuff with electricity. Pay attention to the patterns, okay? It's kind of like the cosmos is summoning up to create the necessary changes, okay? So again, if you've been all using your phone and stuck up to this and stuck up to that, you might suddenly not to use your phone. If you've been using your phone for one thing, not another thing, you might use it completely differently. Shadow bans, okay? Visibility on social media might be changing dramatically, okay? I've heard colleagues, for example, saying videos don't get views. Best astrologers, finest astrologers, get it? Videos don't get views, okay? And then I'm thinking of myself. I was like, oh, when I'm doing lives, I actually get views, even though I talk about like MK Ultra. Suddenly increases my views. I said, what's happened? Okay, when you do lives and not on a Saturn hour, because I did record on Saturn hour later, and of course it got no views, or not with MK Ultra in the title, but it's like when you do lives, you get more views. Okay, I don't think I'm a fluffy astrologer, but when you do videos like this one, because I couldn't do live, I tried to do it live, but it was a problem, then less views. Okay, so this can be a shift of the visibility of what makes you visible and what makes you not visible. A shift of the algorithms. Okay. A shift of thinking of how to solve these things. Okay, if I had someone who was going at the mall and she said, telling me, "You're looking for me," and I said, "Well, she's so excited, I must see what she talks about." It's the same telecommunication as my company, and a very good marketing person And I told her, listen, for the right now, if I'm in business, then I would use phone so and so and so. But if my digital business doesn't get promoted because, this MK Ultra, then it's problem. I think, okay, maybe Nokia is enough. And she was trying to sell me, 5 points more, okay, a little bit to pay a bit more. I was like, yeah, all these technologies. And I started asking her for what, if she's not bored in this job and so on. And so for just this conversation, we talked about, okay, if I invest, if phone is liability, then it really, really needs to be liability, okay? It really needs to be, like a Lamborghini that you buy, okay? That is from the heart. If investment, there needs to be yielding, okay? It's and the shadow bans, you're not to blame, but it's affecting for your industry, okay? This is feedback loop. If you get the other one wanted to be a child psychologist, I will save you the conversation. But you got a lot of information, I tell you that. And look at how the fated events. I wasn't asking, I wasn't looking for this conversation. Just going them all. Like, hey, you're looking for me. It's like, okay, then let's talk then. Okay, so that's another way in which one industry affects other industry affects other industry affects other industry. Okay. And that's a eureka way, a business way to innovate through for the challenges that you experience. Okay, for the industries that do mind to not be in constant debt. Okay, like the telecommunication industries. Okay, that is one way, okay, to go about this. So changes to visibility. Changes to who is an influencer in beauty, cosmetics, law, model, change of beauty standards. Okay, going to be change of beauty standards. More equity. Okay, it's giving more equity. Change of what we pay attention to. Okay, for example, if we've been paying attention to that my technology will be eco-friendly in the sense that carbon or waste or recyclable and so on, we might now think also about all topics, okay, like child labor, slavery, and so on. For example, I just learned today that the most of the gold that's used for jewelry is gold that's recycled. It means that they take the old jewelry that you sell, you say I'm not wearing it anymore, and you do trade with that, and they take for the jewelry that you don't use, and they melt it, and then they turn it into new gold. So some of the gold is new in the sense that people still mine gold in horrid conditions, unfortunately, but also not so horrid. Okay, it depends on where you get your gold, and but most of the gold is basically reused gold. Okay, so when you think, for example, if you have a Sun-Pluto aspect in your natal chart, or you have a relationship with the synastry having Sun-Pluto aspect, okay, Sun is gold, Pluto is recycled. So gold can be appropriate to honor for the sign. Okay, if you already make it a Pluto Sun trine talisman. That is, but also Saturn, because Saturn is something old and Sun is gold. Okay, so you can have second hand, but with Pluto you get this little chemical process that you don't get. Whereas, the stones, the crystals, unfortunately, for most of them, it's both challenging to do that because the temperatures are way higher and so on, and they get scratched more easily, and for the fact that you can buy second hand, but to change, to melt it, this is not something that's going to happen, and so we get them unfortunately still in the mining conditions that they are today, which is why I have. I'm not saying do, I'm not saying don't, I'm just like get informed. Let's say if you plan to do a gold talisman, which works with diamonds as well, So that might be okay. You might buy a diamond and say, okay, I give that gold blessing for the miners, which are miners. Okay, the miners, and that can be one approach around that. But another approach around that could be, okay, I do something different and I work with other elements, which is okay. So we're gonna definitely see some eureka, see some new news, see some changes. But also around the legislation, the regulation, jewelry is also Venus, textile also Venus. What we consider ethical is going to change now, and with Lilith, we might be shifting the focus away from Lilith themes as well, because it's Ketu, or we might be re-emerging, okay, Lilith themes re-emerging, ancestral themes, okay? And especially when it comes to like will and consent and kidney health. And essentially, how does that matter? Well, kidney is something that balances, okay, it balances one side, other side, okay, sun, moon, right side, left side, okay. This when the kidney is not balanced, kidneys have challenge with this. So that's another thing that you want, to consider, that we may have these shifting wisdoms, okay? Because Ketu is giving us ancient wisdom. What's more? Well, I think that pretty much sums it up for this episode. And yes, it's going to be interesting couple of days. We're still in the 30th. We have tomorrow is the 1st of October. Then 2nd October is the eclipse. And then for the 3rd, the 4th, it's still going to be very tight. Then we get the first crescent moon. And the effect, okay, this couple of months. It's not like the solar eclipse in April. Thanks God, because this one is huge. But it's definitely a shifting of perspective that creates for both unexpected vision and sudden action. This unexpected, but you're gonna see it through. Okay, very potent, very successful. It's a very successful combination. And so, for people who argue that they did off an Astrala, then that could be the reason. Okay, it's kind of like, oh, this is very potent, very successful combination. I kind of doubt that the people that they say are oft with all the cloning, the AI, the freezing, and whatnot. But that's, could be wrong. Like I really don't know. So thank you for watching.